every city doesn't need to be New York with high rises. As Mark Twain said, they don't make it more, so buy a land. Buying is good, but renting is better.
Investment on gold versus real estate. Houses versus commercial versus land, which is better?
So it depends again. So any investment that you make, see, in places like Mumbai, which are locked by sea, which has not enough land, it makes sense. In places like Hyderabad, Bangalore, it is okay to an extent.
Welcome to Real CVK, your go-to destination for everything in the world of real estate. In today's podcast, I have Dr. Tushar, a seasoned realtor, an infrastructure expert with 25 years of experience in real estate in India, Canada, and North America, and CEO of Pinvest. He is on the show today to give us some investment strategies around real estate. Welcome, Tushar, for the podcast by Real CVK. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks, CVK, for having me. Look forward to the discussion.
So, I know I troubled you to come to my studio for second time, but thanks for accepting it though. So, I wanted to focus this very quick chit chat, and then I wanted to take your visionary inputs, the global inputs that you have gained from real estate, and that helps my viewers to understand the investment strategies in and around real estate. Awesome. So, I wanted to start with very basic debate. I see a lot of elites talking about buying a house versus renting a house, and I am really fed up with looking at those constant Excel sheets of calculating if you buy after 20 years you're going to save this much, if you rent you're going to lose this much, all that stuff. So I wanted to take your inputs, from your view, buy versus rent a house. What do you suggest? What do you recommend?
It's a very good question, continuously being asked for the last so many years, and especially in a place like India, as you already mentioned, the interest rate and difference between the yield is heavy, and so that's why rental income earlier, say 20 years ago or 30 years ago, had you bought a residential property, the reason people were comfortable pulling out money from the banks and spending or giving it to developers in cash, apart from lower rental yields, because the capital appreciation was huge. And so, say for example, a property bought 30 years ago at say 2 lakhs is now worth 2 crores or much more, so which is 100 times. Well, as of now, the way things have changed since the FDI opened up for real estate.
But most of us buy through interest and bank interest loans.
Yes,
we only pay 20%.
I'm coming to that. So since 2005, when the real estate market opened up in India, there has been a huge supply of real estate. And yes, as the income level grows and as the savings improve, most of us want to invest in real estate. And if you have seen anybody, say be it an actor making a windfall, a businessman making a profit, a professional getting a bonus, or inherit some money, the first thing that comes to our mind, if you have that affordability, is buying a property. And it's an emotional decision, and it's a desire and need as well. So yes, demand for the property would keep on growing, and residential property, because we have say around 1.4 billion people and a next generation of startup entrepreneurs, all kind of professionals, and the way India is progressing, demand for real estate would be high. But we need to understand what segment of real estate we need to invest, because usually people invest in just apartments, houses, plots, but there are many other asset classes within real estate which they can invest.
But I would like to again boil down to my common man's question: buy versus rent a house.
Okay, yes, let me come back to that. Thanks for reminding me. So yes, buying is good, but renting is better, because if you think from emotional standpoint, as I mentioned, the asset that we are buying for living is a consumption. It's not investment. So if you want to live and use like a car which depreciates over time, you are fine. Similarly, the asset that you are buying for living is consumption. It is an asset for your next generation. So if you look at it financially, it makes rational sense to rent. But if you think about peace of mind, buying a property is important. And so if you are looking at appreciation, then it is better that you consider what time of the project you buy, what type of the asset you buy, where it is improving. While in metro cities, as inward migration continues and will continue, so property prices are will tend to continue for a long time. So buying a property is always a good decision, while rental or buying is kind of a rational
So if I
decision.
ask you rapid fire, buy versus rent, what's your answer?
I would say rent for living, buy for investment.
Awesome, awesome. So continuation to this same question, I want you to debunk on one more thing. Investment on gold versus real estate.
Yes, so real estate I would always say,
Because last 25 years, you never see in a single day where gold was depreciating, and real estate is like another stock market. So what do you say, gold versus real estate?
so both assets appreciate over a period of time, no doubt. Well, gold is a big hedge against inflation as well as any recessionary situation, where real estate is the need of the day for any time, anywhere. So real estate for sure, because as Mark Twain said, they don't make it more, so buy a land. The fact is, so what you need to buy, you need to understand, and gold is more sort of emotional for Indians, and so it's good asset. But the fact is, real estate will always be in demand, and you can always liquidate, though you can always sell gold as well. But I would always say real estate, because there are many other aspects we can discuss, which will help to understand that real estate is a better asset, I would say.
So, well, Dr. Tushar, one more complex question seems to be investing in houses versus commercial versus land, which is better?
So it depends again. So any investment that you make, the first thing that you need to think is a strategic exit. So we get emotional again at the time of investment. So we should think whether we are buying for investment, whether we are buying for next generation, whether we are buying it for appreciation in next 5 years. So if you want to get great returns in 5 years, buy or say invest in a great project, or say upcoming project, or if you want to look at a great rental income, commercial asset for sure. And if you want to buy and sit tight on it for 10 years, then always buy land. If you can protect it from encroachments, or you can take care of the assets, then it's a great asset for investment.
Awesome, awesome. I think that's a straightforward answer. So, what advice do you give to first-time investors? Because now you see the buying capacity of Indians is actually reduced in terms of age. So, you have 6-digit salary at age of 23, 24, and then there's a lot of huge pockets. So, but you know, there are a lot of times it goes wrong, first-time investors. So, I want you to tell the first-time investors, what do you think that they should take care?
Sure. So most of these six-figure income Gen X that you are talking about, or not Gen X or Gen Y or Gen Z, the fact is most of these kids would inherit some asset, and the way current generation Gen Z people are looking at are better living style than better living standards. So they can always rent it out, and while they should invest in assets which can get them liquidity, yes, if they are already diversified their portfolio for the long term, then they should buy an asset, say house or apartment, to live in comfortably as per their choice.
Sure. So, I want to know what's your definition of growth in real estate?
A good question again. So usually the growth that we see, say we even get good returns in fixed deposits, but the fact is it doesn't cover much higher than inflation that affects us. So most of us look only at the absolute number. The fact is we should look at not just nominal number but the real growth. And so in real estate also 7-8% grow apartment or say houses prices grow on, and these are in cycles. Real estate usually grows in 8-year cycles, and that's why you should look at. So you should not look at real estate in a very short term, because if you have bought it at the bottom of the cycle, probably you might see growth, but if you have bought it at the top of the cycle, then you might not see the next phase of growth immediately. While if
So
you
you're
invest
saying the time when you invest is important,
100%,
not where you invest.
how much you are capable to invest, how much you are able to hold, when you are investing, where you are investing, and what is your perspective on investment. As I mentioned, you want liquidity, you are looking at asset for the next generation, or you want to trade like capital markets, then that you need to have very good clarity on what exactly you want to do with
So
that.
you're saying that exit strategy is important.
Absolutely, because if you want to trade for tomorrow, then buying a land doesn't make sense. But if you want that in a project, construction project which is being launched, and you see that it has good potential and it is a approved project, then you should invest. So because by the end of the project, the value of the asset is definitely going to go up. But if you want to have a peace of mind and just move in an apartment, ready apartment, it is better to invest in a ready place so that you have peace of mind and good sleep.
Awesome. So, Tushar, another typical question: land is limited, and opportunities and need is unlimited. And you see a lot of high-rise apartments growing from 10 states to now you have about 55 floors apartment coming in Hyderabad, Bangalore, all that. So, what is the future of high-rise apartments in India?
So that's the trend. See, in places like Mumbai, which are locked by sea, which has not enough land, it makes sense. In places like Hyderabad, Bangalore, it is okay to an extent in a dense area. But the fact is, our traffic management designs for the roads and highways, or say flyovers, are not exactly appropriate for next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we have enough land, and according to me, every city doesn't need to be New York with high rises. There is a LA, there is a San Francisco, there is a Seattle as well. So why not to have a proper urban planning and spread our population accordingly, because this dense population also strains our urban infrastructure as well. And in heavy rush hours, there are issues for the medical emergency, there are issues with respect to fire emergencies. So we should, as a society, plan it properly and kind of create more suburbs which are for walk to work, rather than using heavily polluting vehicles. Of course, new generation of transportation also coming up, but eventually the density will rather want people to go away from the cities. So if we want the cities to thrive, then we need to have a vision of next 30-40 years if you want the real estate value to go up.
So, being a seasoned real estate professional with 2.5 decades of corporate experience across the world, how do you see the trend is going in? So, probably if you compare North America versus Canada versus New York versus a city in India, so how is this happening? The growth in real estate, how different it is from Western?
Real estate, as I mentioned earlier, see, we humans are more emotional than rational, and be it New York, Canada, Australia, UK, anywhere, property is a status symbol and it gives a peace of mind, as I mentioned earlier. So properties purchase will always happen as soon as you have a windfall gains from bonus and or other segments of income, other sources rather. Property purchase will happen. But the fact is, people will also eventually learn that it's important to have a clear definition of what is investment and what is consumption. So you cannot have a palace and then think about immediately be able to exit it. There you should be able to foresee that what your income will be, how are you able to maintain a property, if you are able to diversify your income eventually. And so you should invest even in real estate by diversifying in various asset classes, whether commercial, some residential, land, and while, as I mentioned, tokenization definitely helps in this as well.
Sure. So I think there are constant proposals of the converting slums in Mumbai to high-rise gated communities and then use a bit of land to commercial activities. So what do you think? Is it going to take right shape? And then if that happens, I think there are a lot of slums in and around metro cities of India where that land can be properly utilized and probably made commercialization. What happens?
Yes, it's happening and it should happen because definitely the slums need to be revamped and new structures or new clean hygienic places for sustainable living needs to come up. But the fact is, we should refrain from creating vertical slums because in India, we create a lot of high-rise buildings, but we are not exactly maintaining them properly. Unlike abroad in developed economies. So, in developed economies, even if you see a building which is a 25-year-old or 40-year-old, you may not be exactly able to judge the age of the structure or building because they are maintaining it properly, revamping and restructuring it. If we do that properly, probably the slums will also thrive and there will not be any more slums. And another most important factor is the sociological because lot of slum habitants, when they get a house or an apartment allocated to them, they rent it out and go back to slums. This should be stopped by the government, and it's a very important part if of regulation if they really want to see that slums growth do not happen again.
Sure, you are a civil engineer. I totally understand that. So, but still in India, you see, people are not much interested to get into civil engineering, unlike you go to IT or computer science engineering. So, but you see, there's a lot of future about, at least in a building country like India, there's a lot of scope for opportunities for civil engineers. But why you see that, discouragement from parents as well as the society to take up civil engineering when compared to IT and CSE?
So people exactly do not understand because the way it works in any society is, and especially in India, is parents look at the which sector is having job growth, or they look at their peers or neighbors or the other society community members and where more of the employment is happening now. But the fact is, without construction, without development, things are not going to thrive. And even after developing new assets, we'll have to probably reconstruct or redevelop them. And as of now, as we talk, there is not just property technology, there is a lot of construction technology also coming up. So it's not anymore, there is a fine line, I would say, rather between any engineering, say be it civil, mechanical, electrical, instrumentation, electronics, IT. The fact is everything is related to technology. So even when you are developing a building, you can use technology. You are creating a machine, you can use technology. You are developing a software, you are using technology. So the fact is any engineer will have to be connected with technology, either a user of a technology or a developer of a technology or a seller of a technology. So fact is, if people understand that, they should be able to develop a better society, and we need good counselors and we need people to understand what are the benefits, because if you just look at the short-term benefits, it's not going to help anyone select their career, because otherwise you will be just restrained to typical 9 to 5 jobs. But if you really want to grow, you have to understand where the growth is.
Awesome. So one personal question, what is the most expensive asset you own?
Probably a difficult question to ask. I would say a good question, but difficult. So fact is, like, again, land and some of the assets which I am tokenizing.
Okay. Sure. Nice having you on the show, Tushar. Thank you. Look forward to hear more insights in future from you. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lovely discussion.